Good morning, everybody. It's time for Living Low Sodium with Mary Schepp, brought to you by My LoSo Lifestyle, MyLoSoLifestyle.com, where you can find and learn all about living low sodium. You'll get recipes, salt, no salt articles. You can even find all the prior shows of Living Low Sodium right here with Mary Schepp. Mary, good morning. How you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing good. I'm tired this morning. I actually passed the station on my way in and had to turn around down at the hospital.
I did that last week. I'm not kidding.
I was rolling 9 million thoughts through my head.
Yeah.
Just drive, because I don't listen to the radio. Driving is my downtime. Driving is I don't even know how to. It's just I love driving. I'm all about it. I'm all about the quiet. My husband thinks I'm nuts because I don't listen to the radio or anything.
I get that completely, because I actually, if I have the radio on, of course, it's tuned to 216thenet.com, real life internet radio, over the,
over the interwebs.
Over the interwebs, streaming from my phone into the car. But usually, though, it's like turned down way low, like just barely audible for like background noise.
Right.
So that I am, mostly alone with the thought that I occasionally have in my head. There's usually only one or two floating around in there.
I got like 9,000 in my head. Can I send some your way?
You can if you like. There's plenty of room. I try to keep mine devoid of thoughts. It's hard work, actually, but
yeah, no, I my brain's going about 1 million miles a minute, and it's funny because this morning we're talking a lot about farm to table, farm. I have become so ingrained in the farming community, and it was completely unintentional. And I'm still, I only know so very little. And it's funny how many people think I know a lot, because I don't. Simply because I have the Fresh from the Farm McHenry County Facebook page. I get messages all the time. Where's your farm? I don't have a farm. I can't even have a chicken. Like, well, actually, you can get a chicken and register them as a therapy animal, and you can have a chicken. Because any animal could be a therapy animal, so it circumvents.
What's keeping you from just getting a chicken? You can go to like Farm and Fleet or Tractor Supply and just buy one out the bin for like $5.
Because you're not allowed to have them at your house.
Says who?
Says the township and the village and the county and all that stuff. There's only certain places that you can have chickens, and there's a whole movement of people trying to get it
because I know
to be legal
who have chickens as pets.
Then it's allowed in their yard. So depending on where you live and what the village code is, and that, trust me, there's a whole movement of people trying to get other villages within the McHenry County area to do that. So outside of what obviously is agricultural land out, Hebron, Harvard, all that kind of stuff. If you're actually in the heart of McHenry or the heart of Crystal Lake or any of the Cary, Fox River Grove, you can't just put a chicken coop up in your backyard and get 2 chickens and start picking eggs, which is what a lot of people want to do. So there's two sides of the argument.
No, I know a couple of people who actually have chickens that live in the house. Not me, not us, which is...
They may or may not be legal.
Really? I didn't know that.
Chickens, birds in general are they're filthy.
For show purposes only, for entertainment purposes only, let's just suppose, hypothetically,
right?
I know 2 people with chickens.
Right. Somewhere in the state, he knows someone that may or may not have a chicken as a pet inside their house. So, and when I say birds are filthy, I don't mean that they're disgusting creatures that are gross to have and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case at all. Birds have a dust on their feathers to keep their feathers clean, and they poop a lot. So unless you're a good pet owner or a good chicken owner, there's a lot of work that goes goes in owning those things. So the argument is that they're gross and they're disgusting and they carry diseases and people don't want them in their neighborhoods. People who have chicks say that they're not disgusting and they're not gross and they're perfectly healthy and they're great egg layers. Both sides are kind of correct. The people who are arguing that chickens are great are the ones who actually legitimately take care of their animals.
Okay.
And that is true. It doesn't matter what animal you have. You can see somebody who's got 90 cats. You can have 90 cats and still have a clean house. But you have to do a lot of work to make that happen. The same with chickens or any other pet. So there's a lot of people who have them and want more people to have them. There's a lot of people who think they want them and have no idea what it takes to care for them. So they want like the romanticized version of, I can just walk out to my chicken coop and pick a couple eggs and then I can have fresh eggs because everybody says I should have farm to table, fresh to whatever.
It's just hard. It's hard to imagine that would be illegal. I mean, I grew up, now this is Oklahoma and they're long since gone. My grandparents there, but my dad's mom and dad in Oklahoma, they had chickens in the backyard.
So if you look at
that was Oklahoma, but I mean, that was also 50 years ago.
Right. So if you look in, and it takes one person to change the things about everything and throw a fit and sue somebody. So if you think of the average neighborhood that's got, a quarter or barely a half an acre postage stamp size yards, I should say eighth of an acre to quarter an acre postage size yards. So if you're looking over your fence and you see a disgusting chicken coop that somebody only cleans once a month and it stinks and it's gross and it's awful, you're going to complain to your village and say, this guy's not taking care of his stuff. I'm tired of looking at disgusting animals. This isn't a farm. He can't have this here. And then the rules change.
Yeah, so I suppose you get one Karen and you're shot.
So the whole argument is that for those that are advocating for backyard chickens, is that the rules need to be stipulated and there needs to be accountability. So if somebody asks for a permit to house and have chickens, they can do so if they keep it clean and up to code and so on and so forth, and that they don't have any roosters. Because roosters are really loud. That is their nature.
Yeah.
It's what it's their job. They're supposed to scare other creatures off and protect the flock.
Right. It's why they do their roostery thing.
So if people adhered to that, then they can have them. So there's an argument about it, but I think it's funny through creating the Facebook group purely to help people find the farmers, because when the zombie apocalypse happened and all of the supermarkets were out of food.
Yeah.
And of course, what am I doing? I'm posting food. We're both choking on coffee this morning.
I'm telling you, I went down the wrong pipe a moment ago.
I know, I swallowed. I did the same thing in the car on the way here. But that's the thing is, so I'm posting pictures of food, and I've told this story a million times to a million people. I get 70 messages in a day. Where'd you find eggs, or where'd you find beef? Everybody's out of stock. Sam's Club was out of stock. Sam's Club was refilling like on a daily. They get deliveries, I think, twice a day because they supply restaurants and so on and so forth. So they get a lot of product in.
Well, you know what's weird? That lately I have not been able for the life of me to find, how a lot of stores have like pre-made fried chicken, chicken thighs, pieces and parts. You can't find it anywhere. Now, you want a rotisserie chicken? Holy cow, every store has 800 rotisserie chickens.
So
why they're not cutting those chickens up?
I can tell you. So the shortage of everything is far and wide. And if you haven't noticed, if Buffalo Wild Wings started a commercial where they're selling thighs. It's Buffalo Wild Wings.
Maybe they have all the damn thighs. That's what I was looking for.
They ran out of wings.
They ran out of wings.
So
wow.
It's the same with like the ink cartridges and stuff like that. They stopped making a lot of the combo packs where you can buy your black and your color together.
Yeah.
Because ultimately those two pieces just take another step in the manufacturing process to be put in the same package. In order to keep up with demand, they're literally just pumping them out in singles as fast as they can, not in the combo packs. The same, with more people. I mean, it's partially why I am interested to see what the obesity numbers look like in a year or two for 2020 for all the people, because they were staying home and they were eating more food. But the production lines across all of these things, where it's easier to just sell the bird than it is to cut it up and sell the pieces. And then the back stock of all of these pieces that have been sold through to catch up. But if you're trying to sell stuff, or if there's just not enough to sell, the feed prices are going up sky high, which means it's more expensive for the farmers. There's so many different things that come into play here. And if you don't have the people, I'm sure we all remember the stories early in the pandemic where they were slaughtering thousands of pigs and they were just going nowhere because they didn't have a way, that wheel that spins, if it stops and there's live animals on that wheel, they just have to get shoved off. Yeah. They can't just sit in. If you stop that wheel of ink for your printer, it just starts piling up in a warehouse. You can't do that with live animals.
Yeah.
And you also can't just turn the machine back on to make more. You have to raise them and grow them. So when there's a shortage because of supply and demand, you don't have any wings or whatever. So once you start getting that supply back in, you're literally just sending the whole bird as fast as you can to put something on the shelves for the grocers.
So then maybe that's because I did find a pack. I didn't buy them. I found a pack of four thighs. That's my favorite cut on the chicken.
Right. Well, if you think about
almost
how
$6.
Much, yeah.
Now you used to get like a 10 pack for like almost $6. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $6 for 4 freaking chicken thighs. That's the dumbest thing in the world.
Then you don't want to know how much I pay for my farm to fresh.
I don't, because
there's a big difference too.
I'm sure there's a massive difference, and they probably taste phenomenally better.
I'm gonna have to make you. I'm gonna have to make you a chicken dish from. Oh, I'm gonna do that for next week. I'm gonna bring you. I'm a peat safe, gout friendly. Farm fresh meal next week.
Sounds great.
If anybody wants to join us in the studio next week, I'm going to cook and bring food next week.
Wow. All right.
It's going to be gout friendly, so it's going to be low purine.
Yay. Hooray.
But it's the whole point was just to bring the people to the farms.
Yeah.
And the group blew up, and I don't advertise the group. I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't push it out there. I don't try and get more members because we got like 5,000 members in 2 days. And I asked my friend Nicole, who's been on here, and said, "Hey, can you help me? She's fantastic. Can you just help me man these groups that I created on a whim because I don't have the time for this crap." And it's grown into something wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's helped a lot of these smaller farmers because there's the bigger ones around here. I mean, they're not Purdue Chicken that owns the planet, but like Stoddy's Farm, Tom's Farm Market, Hefzibah up in Hebron, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
All Grass Farms, Glass Green Farms. There's a lot of these farms that have a decent following, but there's still so many people that don't even know they existed. And then you've got the like Fresh Time. No, Garden Time. She's out off Justin Road. She just has a little farm stand that she puts at the end of her driveway, and she's at the farmers markets. And within a few weeks, she sends me a message. She's like, "I've never sold out. And now I'm sold out because anytime someone would post,
wow,
I can't find habaneros this weekend. Does anybody have them?" And someone posts. So to be able to help these smaller farmers and to help people in our community realize how quickly they can find and how prevalent the farming community in here, which still shocks me. Like, have you not been stuck behind a combine? We live in a farm community.
Yeah.
There's 800 registered farms just in McHenry County. The amount of messages that I get that, is there a group like this for Kane County or Cook County or Boone County or Lake County? I don't have the time to create. So somebody else wants to create a group for each one of those counties.
For each one of those counties.
Because there's not a ton of farm drama, but there is some. And most of it is around milk, because milk is heavily regulated. You'd think it was cocaine.
Really?
Milk and cheese, it's not. You don't even talk about it in the group.
Really?
I will delete your comment in 2 seconds. It's extremely expensive for farmers to create a milking station, to be certified. Like, you're talking $100,000 to get set up just for one station.
Wow.
The regulations are insane.
I did not know that.
So that doesn't mean that there isn't farmers that have fresh milk and sell fresh milk. And if they sell fresh milk, it's supposed to be like, if they got inspected,
Yeah.
they say, well, I have a cow and I sell milk, but I'm selling it to my Uncle Pete. And that's it. Like, he comes to my farm, he gets a gallon of milk, and that's it. So they're allowed to essentially, do like the friends and family thing.
Yeah.
But they can't bring it to market. There's no cottage law. It's so heavily, unbelievably regulated. And it's the same reason you don't see people selling cheese. So it's hard for, even with our prevalent farm, you need to be a dairy farmer with hundreds of cows and a whole milk production. And it is unbelievably expensive to insure and produce and stay regulated.
Wow.
To produce dairy products.
I did not know that.
And a lot of people don't. So that's why it's against the rules in the group to talk anything.
Now, is that just like Illinois? Or
that's when they put the dairy on the food pyramid and whatever years ago. And the same with big agro and corn and grains. And they all have political lobbyists that they control that. And when you control that, you control a lot of money.
That's insane.
Yep.
Didn't even think, that never even occurred to me.
Yep.
So you got big dairy. You got big pharma. You got big dairy.
You really do.
Wow.
And it's interesting, the things that I've learned, because in the beginning I'm like, well, can't we have it? Like, we won't mention the farms, because within a week of creating the group, someone's like, can we get a list of those farmers? Or people will message me, because I'm not going to lie. I know, me personally, I know where I could go right now and get a gallon of milk. So I get messages all the time. You have to know. I do know. I'm not going to tell you. I don't know you. And
because you're not on the friends and family list.
Right.
You got to be on the friends and family list.
If it starts, and that's the thing, like the amount of money and fines and trouble that a farm can get into, it literally is like they just got caught selling cocaine. Man. And that's their livelihood. So you can once again,
when I was a kid, we used to go to a farm to get milk.
King's Farm in McHenry, where is now Walmart. The original farmstead still stands there. Actually, Hephzibah. So on McCollum Lake Road, and what is that, 31?
Yeah, McCollum Lake and 31 over there.
King's Farm, that all used to be King's Farm when I moved here in the early 80s. And we did every single Sunday. My neighbor, Virginia, who...
back in the 90s, they still had some cattle and some stuff over there. So, yeah.
She used to, every Sunday, I used to go with Virginia to King's Farm, and we would get fresh milk, and we would come home, and she's the one who taught me how to make fresh bread when I was a little girl. I went to school with her grandson. He lived on the other side of the neighborhood. And so that's what I knew. So and that was my naivety, is when I created this farm group, and I'm going, what do you mean you? So, well, what if we just mention it? No. How if we mention it this way? Nope. And I have this group of ladies that are farmers that I consult with. They're my wisdom. So anytime I have a question behind the scenes, I shoot them a message and go, hey, how about this? And they are the ones that educate and school me. So every time I asked about milk, and they're like, nope, can't do it.
Wow.
And I was the same as you. I was like, dude, as a kid, that's what every Sunday we went to King's Farm. It was no big deal. He had a giant collie that jumped up on the door, and every time Virginia was mad because it scratched the side of her door, super sweet dog. And we would go and get to play with the cows and get a jug of milk and come home, and I'd make bread. And side note to that is Hephzibah up in Hebron, the original barn at King's Barn, for those of you that might have driven by that live in the McHenry area and saw it taken down this summer, they had a company take it down board by board, piece by piece, and they're putting it back up on her farm to preserve a piece of McHenry history, because King's Farm is one of the original farmsteads to the area. So she took their whole barn. The big giant barn is now off of McCulmick Road and up in Hebron.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought
So
they
now
just
it's
tore
just
it
the
down.
house. No, they did, but they
I
tore
just
it
thought
down
was
in such a
gone.
fashion, instead of just knocking it down in one day, it took them a week because
They
had to
actually
take it apart and relocate it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she does farm tours, so you can see her little goats and chickens and she's got all these different cool animals to see. She actually does paid farm tours up on her farm in Hebron. So the reason that I wanted to talk about farms and farm to table and farm fresh is the same as I talk every day about balance, and what you put in your body is what you get. So if you're drinking sugar and salt and garbage and soda and fast food, that you're going to have obesity and heart disease and kidney and all these other, and gout and all this other. Well, gout isn't necessarily a dietary thing. That's an actual medical.
Well,
same as celiac sprue. It's partially dietary.
It's the reason I contracted it was because of having a little more than 6 months of absolutely eating nothing but beef.
Right.
Beef.
And the theory a lot of times,
and it was great,
is that you have that sensitivity, and then something like that triggers it. So it's not that it gave it to you, it's just that it turned it on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but the most noticeable thing for me in the difference between what I get from a farm and what I get from the grocery store is chicken and tomatoes. So tomatoes, I don't actually have on my list here. Tomatoes, I don't know if you've ever noticed, they taste significantly different between the grocery store and ones you pick off a plant that you grow or get from a farmer's market. So tomatoes in a grocery store are picked green. They are picked very green. They are not picked when they're starting to turn orange. They are picked green. Once they reach the size that they want them to be, they are picked, and then they are put into a atmosphere controlled environment. The ethylene is sucked out because fruits and vegetables produce ethylene, which is what makes them ripen and rot. And so if they don't have that, they don't rot as fast, or they don't ripen as fast. So most tomatoes spend 45 days before they come to a grocery store. I can't keep a tomato fresh in my pantry for 3 days before it starts to rot, because I picked it off the vine red. And I actually told Ben to start picking them when they're orange, because then by the time we eat them out of our pantry, they're ripe. So once they start to ripen, they're gonna ripen. Unless you have a chemical process to stop it, which producers do, they're gonna ripen. So if you pick them when they're just starting to turn orange into green and put them in your cabinet, they will ripen on their own. The fruit doesn't need sunshine. Once the ripening process happens and the sugars start to be created, unless you have a way to suck the ethylene out of the tomato, it's going to ripen.
I did not know that.
So we didn't either. So when you pick, and producers will actually admit, like large scale producers will actually admit through the selective breeding and pollination and whatever, and some are GMO and so on and so forth, the tomatoes that they grow are less flavorful because they grow tomatoes that are engineered to last longer. So that is why your tomatoes taste different at a grocery store versus, literally, my husband's looking at me going, I don't get it. Yesterday, he picked tomatoes off the vine, and we had spaghetti for dinner with sliced tomatoes on a plate, just because they're fresh from the vine and super, super. It was like someone injected sugar into our heirloom tomatoes.
Really?
It was amazing.
Wow.
I
did not even know that.
Right. They're also more nutritionally void.
I'm going to have to get some tomato seeds. It's too late now in the year.
You can grow them in your house, just like a
really?
house plant.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Again, it's like any other plant. They like heat. So most of the tomatoes that you get in the United States, depending on the season, are from California or Florida.
Huh.
The problem with California and Florida is their soils are nutritionally crap. They're low in nitrogen. They're kind of sandy.
Yeah.
So they use a ton of water and irrigation to get the tomatoes to where they want to. And they're approved. So, of course, they're safe in theory. They are sprayed with pesticide, fungicides, herbicides, fertilizers. They're all, safe per whatever governing body that I can't remember the name of. So
I may try that. Maybe I'll try doing a little tomato plant in my office at home.
Depending on the tomato plant, they can get really big. Really big.
I love steak, like the big juicy steak tomato.
That's a big plant.
I really love those. Those are good.
Like mine is probably as big as me. I mean, you can trim it down. Yeah, they get pretty big. But you can grow them.
They grow upward?
It's funny because for a while you could buy them. You ever see those like strawberry plants that hang upside down?
No.
It was a thing for a while. Essentially, they put a bag around the pot and then the stem comes out the top of the bag and you flip it upside down and hang it. So then it's up because it doesn't matter. As long as it's getting sunshine and stuff, it grows downwards and you can hang it off the soffit of your house and it grows strawberries.
Huh.
I know a couple times they tried selling that and pitching that with tomatoes. I don't see how well that would work, but you never know. But you can grow them any season that you want as long as it's like any other plant. You just have to provide it with the right stuff.
I know my dad, he always had a vegetable garden when we were growing up. He did corn, tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, zucchini. Radish. He loved radishes.
See, we always stick to herbs and tomatoes and some peppers, because Ben likes the hot peppers.
Huh.
But with tomatoes, they taste so different, and I can bring you some next week. We can go to the farmer's market and grab a couple just to see the difference. And on average, a tomato from a farmer's market, because there's a guy that posts all the time on my farmer's market page about, I wish they were local farmers and not vendors. Farmers work with each other. So if they don't have tomatoes right now because theirs aren't ripe, they get them from another farm nearby. And then that other farm doesn't have radishes or strawberries or whatever.
So they
work with each other. Yeah. The average farmer's market tomato travels 117 miles.
Huh.
The average consumer tomato from a grocer travels 1,300 miles across 45 days.
Wow.
So, and it's so it might be, heirloom is just the big fat tomato. There's so many different species of heirloom and so many different species of, it's just a generic whatever. So just because the heirloom tomato in your grocery store looks similar or the shape and size to the ones at the farmer's market, and a lot of times at farmer's market, people are like, oh, they look gross, they're cracked, and they have this. The tomatoes in a grocery store are specifically bred to look perfect. And the ones that don't look perfect get thrown in a pile to be made as soup or whatever else, because we're pompous assholes who won't eat anything that doesn't look perfect. So that's why all the stuff in our grocery store looks absolutely picture perfect when you walk across it, so that we waste all the other food because it doesn't, it's got a little crack in it or a scar, because a tomato, if it rubs up against the vine, it gets a little black mark or brown mark because it scars the skin. Yeah. The tomato is perfectly fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to me, the difference between what you can grow and the nutrition is different. So you want to talk about tomatoes. When you go to chicken, I've had a huge problem with this as of late, because if you notice when you go to the grocery store, if you've never paid attention, the chicken shouldn't have white stripes.
Yeah, I was just looking at your handout. For all of you out there, you don't know, I get handouts every week.
He gets
awesome.
aids.
Yeah.
I give him, notes.
And she gives me AIDS every week.
I give you. Is that a bad Family Guy episode? Not a bad. I love Family Guy. Not a bad episode, but it's a bad time.
Yeah.
But the same as, like I said a minute ago about what you put in your body. What you put in your body affects the outcome of your health and so on and so forth. Subsequently, what the animals and produce, what you put into them. So what you feed the animals that you eat affects you, and how you grow or what is put into the vegetables that you eat is the same concept. So if you grow vegetables with a ton of fertilizer because the soil is nutritionally void, your vegetables are less nutritional. If you grow it in soil that has nitrogen and magnesium and iron and all these things, your vegetables are much more nutritional. And then on top of that, same with animals. So most pigs and cattle or not cattle, they're too big. Pigs and chicken are grown or raised indoors. If you don't want to know, don't ever watch any of the food to table documentaries.
Oh, my wife has, which is why she will not eat any meat that still looks like the animal.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me a bit.
It doesn't. It does. It is what it is. It doesn't bother me.
It's food.
But proteins, pork, beef, poultry, grown or raised on a farm, they're raised with less stress. And I know that ultimately, chickens raised for your grocery store, they're raised on a farm. Purdue has farms, but these farms have row after row after row of these high tunnels, and they've discovered that chickens don't need light. And light just heats up the high tunnels, and it costs money because you use electricity.
Yeah.
So they don't care, because the whole goal is to get that bird as big and as fat as fast as possible to get it to that 6-pound range so they can process it and send it to market. So the animals are more stressed. They're fed less quality food. They're most of the time, hormones and antibiotics, which is why you see all these packages that brag no hormones nor antibiotics. And I love that now these packages have started putting local farm on there, because it comes from a farm
that happens to be in the area.
So
it's local.
It was local when we bought it. But because everybody wants, good morning, Nora. Everybody wants this farm to table stuff. And of course, marketers find a way to make you think that's what you're getting. But researchers found that pasture-raised egg contains twice the amount of omega-3 fat, 3 times more vitamin D, and 4 times more vitamin E, 7 times more beta-carotene than eggs from hens raised on traditional feed.
Huh.
So when you want farm to table, the yolks are brighter and thicker, and the shells are thicker. It's so funny when someone sees at the farmer's market that the eggs aren't washed, because an egg straight out of the chicken's butt can sit on the counter for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's not until it's washed and the film that is naturally produced by the bird is removed. Or if it's refrigerated, it has to stay refrigerated. Because the same thing, I remember as a little girl, both my neighbor and my grandma had eggs on the counter. So I just assumed that was what everybody had. Come to find out that once they're washed and refrigerated, they have to stay refrigerated. But that same concept of your eggs are more nutritional from birds that are raised better, it's the same with your meat. So if you think of a bird that's raised in a high tunnel never sees the light of day, how much vitamin D do you think is in that bird? And the main source of vitamin D,
sunlight,
for us is sunlight. So when we're all sitting in our houses, not going anywhere, not doing anything, especially now with everybody home and everybody's kids doing nothing but sitting in a basement somewhere playing video games. And then the main source of our vitamin D is animal protein. How are we going to get that?
Yeah.
If our animals are raised in the dark? And even pigs. Most commercially raised pigs are raised indoors. So right there, it's the same across the board with anything. So the animals from a farm, they're more expensive. Why? Because your farmer out here in McHenry doesn't raise 9,000 pigs. They raise a handful of pigs. I actually get to take a butchering class. I'm super excited in like a week.
Oh, really?
Not that I don't know how to butcher, but a friend of mine raises guinea hogs. She's doing a butchering class, so you pay for the class and you get to keep the meat that you butcher.
Wow.
So I'm very excited about it. Mostly because I get to play on the farm for a day and she's got all these other things and they're actually wonderful people. So I get to spend the time with awesome people doing fun stuff. And then we, of course, have food and everything there and you get to eat and do stuff. And I get to bring home a quarter of a pig.
Whoa.
So I get to restock my freezer with fantastic food. So I'm excited. Some of that will show up on our Thanksgiving episode. I will save some of my fresh farm ham for the. I'm really excited about am I the only person that gets that super excited about stupid food?
It depends. Like if you just say bacon, I'm all in.
We'll bring you some bacon.
So,
we'll bring you some
bacon. Well, you know
what?
Thanksgiving is on a Thursday, but I can't. I'll get shot if I produce your show.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. We didn't do it Thursday last time either. We did it
the week after the.
Did we do? I think we did.
We did it and then this year it'll be, which I think.
I can't remember if we did it before or after, so everybody wasn't turkeyed out.
I think it was the week after, if I'm not mistaken. And
but that's what we'll have to do again.
December 2nd is the Thursday after Thanksgiving.
That's my dad's birthday.
Oh, well, hey, he's a Decemberite too. I'm a Decemberite.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited to do that again this year. So when you look at chicken in the grocery store, a large portion of it has white stripes now. And I was giggling last night because I was like, not the band.
Oh, yeah. That chicken's been listening to white stripes.
So the fat content in poultry has been increasing over the years. And
so is that fat, the white stripes, or is that so it is, it's fat?
Let's see here. Meat lost some of its nutritional value over the years, increasing concerns that while the white stripes signified that the meat was gradually losing functioning proteins, a survey given as part study claimed that the white stripes only impacted about 12% of the fillets, which I don't know how long ago this study was done that I pulled the information from, because it's gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. I noticed it. It was shortly after my liver failed because I had chicken and my in-laws were over for dinner. And I remember specifically like crunching into a piece of chicken and it was crisp, like a piece of melon or something. The texture, it tasted fine, smelled fine, looked fine. Everybody was like, this tastes fine. I'm a textural person. So I'm weird about food textures. So to have a piece of chicken have that firm, after it's cooked, that firm texture was weird to me.
Yeah.
So I started researching it, and that's when I found out about something called woody breast. And that's why they call it that, because the texture gets this firm, almost woody texture to it. Generally, white stripe meat is believed to be safe to eat, although there is still another drawback, the taste. Compared to healthier chickens, the meat could be tougher, often called woody. It is also believed to have less flavor and doesn't absorb marinades well.
Huh.
So the actual protein structure, because the birds are raised to grow up so fast, because birds that you get from the grocery store, they're really young, which is why I think it's funny all these packages state young chicken. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a 5-pound, 6-pound, or a 10-pound bird. They are all young because they are just crammed full of everything that they need, and they're specifically bred to get bigger faster.
That's weird, because if that's all fat, I would have expected it to have the same result as like 80-20 beef, or if you're lucky to find it, 70-30.
It does.
Because that's super flavorful.
Well,
it's juicy.
It's a different fat.
Yeah, true.
So you have different kinds of fats, and not all of them are the same. So the
Which is
same
why
was,
they're different.
saturated fats versus unsaturated fats and polyunsaturated and all this other stuff and omegas. So it's almost like tendon structures. So the fat is there, but it's not necessarily that particular cut of meat is not necessarily made to absorb the fats the way you would think it would. So it's complicated, but it does. It makes them, they're very, very bland. They don't taste like anything, which is why I have been away from chicken for so long until I brought home some from the market. And Ben was literally like, what the hell? And I flat out destroyed that chicken. We cooked it straight from frozen, right out of the freezer. Didn't care. There's nothing to eat. I'm not going to take out. I don't care. Throw it in the oven. Because if you throw something in the oven from frozen, it will eventually cook.
Eventually, yeah.
But it takes a while. And it usually dries out. So I combated that by cooking it in a covered dish with some chicken broth in the bottom, and it was bone on. So it was overcooked. But even overcooked, and that's what's funny because Ben's like, you can tell that it's overcooked. It's not, but he's like, it's not dry and it's still flavorful. That's the weirdest thing ever. So that's the difference. And the breasts weren't 6 pounds because they're not bred to be that way. They're not bred to have this big, huge breast and no other meat on the bird. That's the other problem. There's just so much that affects that I refuse, unless I absolutely have to, I refuse to buy poultry from the grocery store anymore. And it's the same with pork. All pork at the grocery store is brined. The only time you don't get brined pork is if you go to someplace like Sam's Club. The reason why they leave theirs all natural is because they're usually selling it in large quantities to restaurants, and restaurants want to season it or brine it themselves. So they want natural product regardless. They're not necessarily always looking for hormone free or anything like that. They just want an unbrined or unsalted pork because they need to brine it themselves.
Okay.
So I have to, by needing to get rid of the salt, because when my liver first failed, all of the poultry in the stores was also brined. And that's part of the reason I was so mad, because literally I got a piece of paper from the hospital that said, this is what salt is. And the other side had a recipe for chicken. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It's just grilled chicken. That's literally the recipe, was chicken grilled with Mrs. Dash seasoning. That's not really a recipe.
No.
That's an instruction on what I should eat. So I go to the grocery store and all of the chicken was brined. So instead of being 60, 70, or 80 milligrams of sodium for a 4-ounce portion, it was 300 or 400. So, if you watch some of the earlier episodes where I talk about how, the trials of grocery shopping and avoiding salt in the grocery stores.
But I suppose if you've got a woody piece of chicken, that's about the best way to deal with it, is to brine the crap out of it.
Right. But it also, because of the nature and the denaturing of the proteins, it doesn't absorb brine in marinades as well. So you got to do it longer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you do the holy living crap, you're going to leave that in there for a long freaking time.
Right.
Not just overnight to get like a nice flavor. You're probably going to be in there like a few days.
Right. And it's hard because I'm not rich. And I get it. Like you saying earlier, where you can get...
we used to get like a pack of 10 thighs for about $5.50, $5.75.
It's like 99 cents a pound.
Yeah. And now, we were at the store the other day. This is what was weird. We were at the store on Labor Day or the day after. I can't remember which. And there was nothing on the shelves. Everything was so picked over. And I'm like, what the hell? This is weird. Why are we back to this again?
Right.
And
it's just, again, like I said, it's that once that wheel stops or slows down for any reason, it's one thing if you have storable products, if you have perishable products, especially if they're animals. They were calling entire houses of pork, whole high tunnels. They literally, and that's why it was in the news, because they were literally just shutting the doors and letting them die. because it was too expensive to euthanize them, which is obviously cruel and unusual punishment and blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. So they got in trouble for that. But when you stop that wheel, you have to. So it's hard. But that's the same thing now where the prices are going up because the feed prices for the farmers are going sky high. And on top of that, the processing times for a lot of these farmers are booked, like poultry, the processors are booked into next year.
Wow.
So, and that's part of the reason, like, where my friend's having this class, because she can have them processed, meaning that, you know, they get dispatched. And so when we get them, it's, you're not, it's not so like hunting. You're not gutting it and skinning it. And
you're not doing it from, hey, I got a dead pig on the floor. You're doing it from, okay, we've got it back from the processor.
Right. Now we get to cut it up. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's between the amount of time and effort, and I'm not going to lie, I like the fact, I get it, that it's an animal and it's sad that it goes from, like, its whole life is going to be to end up on my pork sandwich. I'm sorry that that's your life.
I'm not.
However, the fact that sandwich. Right, the where I get all of my animals from, they are literally loved until it's their time. One of my farmer friends actually teaches she teaches her animals how to get in and out of the trailer, simply so that the last day of their life, when they're taken to a processor,
they're not
isn't stressed and shoved into a trailer and gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but if I'm going to die, if I'm sitting here and I'm happy as a clam, don't know anything, and all of a sudden, poop, my lights go out of all of the ways you could go,
I suppose, yeah,
that's going to be your better option versus, you know, living a horrible life in a high tunnel with no lights until someone comes and shoves you with a tractor to the other end.
Do you suppose those places are like super haunted with chicken ghosts? Pig ghosts?
Maybe. Is there farmer karma?
I'm just wondering.
If
they're living beings and every living being has a spirit or a soul, so far as we know, I mean,
it's possible. I guess anything's possible. That'd be kind of funny. There's a movie. Hey, Pixar, we got a movie. We got a movie title for you.
Yeah,
the chicken ghosts that haunt the farmers.
Ghosts. Yeah, chicken ghost. There you go. New podcast.
Right. So I touched a little bit last show on game meat, and I finally brought out my little printout thing here.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
only my son would ask that.
Oh,
yeah. Thanks, Mom. Thanks for tuning in, by the way.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
So the nutritional value, and it's impossible to find anything on the nutritional difference between store-bought stuff and farm-raised stuff. The studies just aren't being done. Farmers, they aren't necessary, unless they add something to their beef or pork or poultry, they're not required to put ingredients on a package or nutritional information on a package, because there's a USDA standard that says a 4-ounce cut of beef has roughly this, that, and the other. So there's no studies specifically that are easy to find that say that grocery store meat is either higher or lower in this, that, and the other.
Okay.
However, if you find the farmers that have done, because they want to brag that their meat is higher in protein or higher in this or higher in that, without injecting their animals with vitamins or minerals or antibiotics or any of this other crap, and there was a study I was reading from Harvard EDU about how the theory is sound. If an animal is out in the sunshine, grazing on high quality feed and high quality food and less stressed, that's why Wagyu beef tastes so good and is so expensive, and why farmers, their product is so much more expensive, the small local farmers, not the big agro guys, because of that same reason. They're more nutritionally packed. They're less of the saturated fats, higher in the good fats, the omegas and things of that nature. So they are subsequently healthier for you.
I wonder, though, in the amount that the world consumes an animal food product, is there I don't know that there's even enough land if you say, okay, we're going to take all these millions of animals and put them out in a pasture. We don't have that much land.
We don't have a sustainable way. I mean, it's the same with everything. Does it make money? I'm going to make it really big and make a lot of money. I don't give a shit about the rest.
Well, if you're trying to feed, here in the U.S., trying to feed
348 million.
Yeah, 348, almost 350 million people on a daily basis.
Right.
You got
a good way to promote that and have enough space to feed 348 million people? Tell them that they don't need to have a 16-ounce steak, because most people are eating 3 times the amount of food that they should be eating.
Well, yeah, but you can't tell someone that they don't need a 16-ounce. You can say, hey, you don't need it.
Diet Coke.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Sorry, that always cracks me up. If I see someone with a super big gulp at like 32 or 64 ounces and it's diet.
But see, at this point, our country is not a society of need. It's a society of want and have.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
So game meat, for instance, I did actually find somewhere that shows you the game breakdown. In most, I wish I should have had a cow or a pig in comparison. I know that beef is higher up there calorically. Here we go. 267 calories for a fillet of beef, 242 for a pork loin, 165 for chicken. And subsequently the same with proteins and fats. So if you look at, let's pick something that you can actually readily get in a grocery store. So bison. Bison is popular. Buffalo burgers, bison burgers.
Okay.
It's something you get in restaurants. It's something you can get in the grocery store. All of that stuff. So a fillet of beef is 267 calories. A fillet of bison is 138 calories. Beef is 26 grams of protein. Bison is 21 grams of protein. So here's the other one. Beef is 17 grams of fat. Bison is 1.9 grams of fat.
Huh. Bison is big, but not fat.
No, they're because they're moving. They're grazing, they're moving, they're doing things. Especially when it's actual game meat.
Now you actually have alligator on here.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even know you could get alligator.
Oh, go down to Florida.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, there we go. We should just start having alligators instead of chicken.
So what else we got here? I like pheasant. Pheasant's 148 calories. So deer, if you like venison, which I love venison, most deer that you get's white-tailed deer. It's 149 calories, 23 grams protein, and 1.4 grams of fat. So all of these things that are so much less calorically, all of them. Moose, elk, bison, alligator, antelope, ostrich, even squirrel, duck, rabbit, wild boar, turkey, all of them are less than 165 grams or 165 kcal or 165 calories, and less than what's the highest one we got on here? 4.38 grams of fat comparatively.
Yeah, which is the wild boar.
Right. And that's the highest one because it's a pig.
Yeah, and the highest protein looks like it's the ostrich there at 29.
Right. But they're all...
Well, actually, the alligator is 29 too.
So the reason why I wanted to say about game meat versus what we eat commercially produced is because it's the closest representation to what I could get that would show you the difference between grocery store and farm. Because even though farm-raised pork, cattle, and poultry is not game meat, it's not a deer out running in a field that got shot and taken down, so it doesn't quite have the same exercise level.
Yeah.
But it's not a pig raised in a high tunnel. It's a pig that gets, they get their wallow filled every day. They get loved and they get run around and they've got other pigs to play with and they have a pen to run around in. So they're still bred for the same purpose and they're still going to have a higher fat content, but the fat tends to be the better fats.
Yeah.
Less saturated fat, higher omegas, and higher proteins and vitamin E. So ultimately, it's much, much healthier for you, let alone the flavor. And I seriously, I can't wait. I'm going to get my hands on store-bought chicken, which I can obviously just go to the store for. I'm going to pick up some fresh farm chicken and make both and bring them into the studio next week.
That'd be awesome. Now, you actually have dove on here. Isn't a dove just a pigeon?
Pretty much. Well, I mean, they are two different birds, but it's similar. Same.
Is it like in the pigeon family or something like that? I didn't even know you could eat a dove. I mean, I suppose you could eat whatever you
Depends on where you're at. And it's not depends on what. Well, there's hunting laws for all of those things. So like you can't even go out. If you have a muskrat trying to make a house under your deck, you can't kill it. Because there's a muskrat season.
Now, I've had squirrel when I was younger. My uncles, my mom's brothers.
It's not bad.
Would go out hunting, and it tasted bad, except for, they didn't do a good job of getting all the shotgun pellets out. So there was always a little plate for the pellets right there, and you had to eat them. And
same with rabbit.
So you had to be careful eating it. Now, what is this at the very top? Is that a slow goose, which I guess is why it's available to eat? It's slow.
Snow.
Oh, snow. So I don't have my readers on. I didn't know what a slow goose was. It's evidently a dead goose, but no, this is snow goose. Okay. Never mind. All right. Never mind. You're laughing. I'm being serious over here. I'm trying to read this. What the hell is a slow goose? It's a dead goose. That's what it's the goose on your plate.
Calorically, slow goose is the best goose for you to eat. Sounds so tough.
Sorry.
Oh my God, I'm dying. I'm crying a little bit over here. That's hilarious.
Jackrabbit. I've had rabbit as well.
Yeah.
And I do like it. We actually have rabbits as pets. So, and I don't know if there's laws on that. We bought them very easily and they live in the house. So they're not outside rabbits.
So I did find something about studies show that the nutritional value of pork from pasture-raised pigs that consume grass and forage is higher than pork from conventionally raised pigs. They are less saturated fat, more heart-healthy polyunsaturated fats, lower ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 polyunsaturated fats, higher levels of protein and vitamin E. So the argument is always, like I said, you can go to the grocery store and get pork and poultry 99 cents a pound. And part of the reason why those things, why pork is brined, because the way it's raised and it's nutritionally void and it tastes like nothingness, they brine it. And it also lasts longer and spoils less. And it doesn't dry out and it's easier for people to cook. I've never had an issue with farm fresh stuff drying out. Never. Every time we make it, I've never had any issues with it whatsoever. So the same with poultry. This white striped woody breast issue with poultry from the store is why you're paying 99 cents a pound. So you are going to pay more for a bird from the grocery store or from the farm. But the more, and I know we're not going to overnight make a change large scale, but the more that we shop from our local farms, the more competitive in price they can be. They can only be so competitive because you're paying for the fact that their animals are raised better, they're fed better, and you're paying for that product. And I'm okay paying for that. And I'm glad that I can afford to. But at the same time, if you're paying attention to it, if you buy, I keep hitting my mic, if you buy a bird from the farm and you pay attention to your portions, you don't have to eat a 19,000 pound chicken breast. You can actually eat decent food. So if you want to find any of our farms, you go to Fresh from the Farm McHenry County. Pretty soon we'll have a website up for them as well. And if you ever want to send me a message, it's Mary at MyLoSoLifestyle.com. I need a new email. I just figured out my email and I need a new email. And always support our station and support me. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And that station has download the app for the radio station, 216 The Net.
Yep, 216 The Net on the Google App Store to your Droid.
to your droid.
Yeah. All right.
Have a good one. We'll see you guys next week.